Okay, ready? Ready? Okay, so I'm doing the first two and you're doing the second two out of each of the groups. So some of the questions will be about the sum and the product of the roots, which you can do the long way, but I wouldn't waste your time to do it that way. Oh, no, I just gave you paper. Okay. Alright, so sum and product of roots. What do you need to remember for sum and the product of the roots?
Sum equals negative b over c. A.
Sum equals negative b over a. What's the product equal?
C over A.
What else do you need to make sure about your quadratic equation?
That's equal to 0.
It's equal to 0, which it is. So what is my a, my b, and my c?
3 negative 12.
3, negative 12,
And b positive 12.
and 15. So when I plug into my formulas over here for my sum and my product, negative of negative 12 would be a positive 12. And my a is 3, so it would be 12 over 3, which would reduce to what? 4. If you can reduce it, you have to reduce it. So c over a, which would be my product, would be 15 over 3, which would reduce to 5. So there are 1, 2, I think 4 of those problems on the quiz. Number 2 says write an equation with the sum of the roots equal to 7 and the product of the roots equal to negative 2. So what did I say was the easiest a value to pick? 1. So that a equal 1. That does not look like that. So if I have my sum equal to 7 and my product equal to negative 2, so for my sum I would have 7 equals, what's that equation again? Negative b over a, and I'm saying a is equal to 1. So if I have negative b equal to 7, if I divide by 1 it would just be negative b. What's my b going to equal?
7.
Negative 7. My product is negative 2 equals c over my a, which is 1, again. So what would my c equal? Negative 2. So if I write my equation in the standard form of a quadratic, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right? And if I plug in my a, my b, and my c, I would have 1x squared minus 7x minus 2 equals 0, right? You have to make sure you write equals 0 because they want an equation. So an equation means you have to have an equal sign, so you have to have that equal 0 in there. So you're doing 3 and 4, and then we'll check it tomorrow to make sure you did them correctly. Okay? Solving quadratics by factoring. If you solve by factoring, what's the first thing that you have to do for any of these?
Equal to 0.
Set equal to 0. If I want to set them equal to 0, looking at the first one, I have x plus 7 equals x squared plus 2x minus 5.
You move those left ones.
I would want to move the x and the 7 over because I want to leave my x squared positive because it makes it easier to factor. So on a minus 7, or minus x and minus 7. So I would get x squared plus 7 minus 12 equals 0, right?
Right.
Okay. So now I want to factor in, it's a trinomial, so I'm going to go into two binomials. So what's my first term going to be? X and X. 6 and 2, or 4 and 3. Which one's going to give me 1? 4 and 3. If that's a minus, they're opposite signs. If that's a plus, then the larger one gets the plus. So plus 4, minus 3. Now that's just factored. That you're not done because we didn't solve anything. So what do you have to do with each factor? Set both of them equal to 0. So you have x plus 4 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. So minus the 4, add the 3, x equals negative 4, and x equals positive 3. I don't care if you show this stuff right here, because it's pretty simple.
Can you put those in the squiggly lines?
You can put them in the squiggly brackets, you don't have to. I don't care if you do or not, because this is fine. So number 6, 3x squared equals 15x. So again, it's a quadratic, so I have to do what? Set it equal to 0. So I'd want to minus my 15x, because I want to leave my x squared term positive, so minus 15x. So I'd have 3x squared minus 15x, because they are not like terms, they don't have the same amount of x's, equals 0, right? Do I have a trinomial? No, I only have a binomial, so I can't factor into 2 like that. What would I do with each of these? Or what can I do with each of those? I could take out a 3 out of 3 and 15, I could take out an x out of x squared and x. So if I take out a 3 and an x out of the first one, what would I have left? And if I take out a 3 and an x out of the second one, what would I have? So I have 3x times x minus 5 equals 0. Now what do I do with each of those vectors? Because they're still both vectors. Yeah, you're still going to set them equal to 0. So 3x equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. So this one I would add 5. X equals 5. What would I have to do for this one to get x by itself? Divide by 3. What's 0 divided by anything? 0. So I get 0 and 5 for those answers. And you can write them in the school brackets again. You don't have to. So you're doing 7 and 8. I'll check them tomorrow. Now we're completing the square. You have to. Because it always shows up on the reasons. Every single bit. 2x squared plus 16x equals 18. You do not have to set completing the square equal to 0. You can if you want to, but it's just going to be an extra step. What's the first thing you have to do when you're completing the square?
Get the coefficient.
Get the coefficient to be a 1. So in my x squared, is my coefficient 1?
No.
No. So what do I have to divide by?
Divide by 2.
So everything has to be divided by 2. So I have x squared plus 8x equals 9. What's the second thing you have to check? Yeah, it is what you're going to do next. But what do you have to make sure first? Not equal to 0. X's have to be on one side, your constant has to be on the other, which it already is, so I don't have to move anything. Now I want to do the plus something. And it's always going to be plus, because if you square a positive or a negative, you're going to get a positive, so that's why it's always plus on both sides. Now I want to write my square term, because that's what I'm trying to do, is complete that square, figure out what it is. So my first term is always an x. Why is it 4?
Because it's half of b.
Half of b, which would be half of 8, so that's 4. Now what do I add to both sides?
16.
Why?
Square, 4 square.
4 squared would give me 16, so 9 plus 16 gives me 25. Square root both sides to get rid of the square.
Plus or minus 5.
So the square root and the square cancel, so I have x plus 4 equals, whenever you square root a number, you have to add a plus or minus in front of it because you don't know what it could be. And the square root of 25 would be plus or minus 5. You're still not done because you have to solve for x, so you have to get x by itself. So what would I do to get x by itself?
Subtract 4.
So minus 4,
Plus
x equals negative 4 plus or minus 5, which breaks up into 2, right? I would have x equals negative 4 plus 5, which would give me 1. And x equals negative 4 minus 5, which would give me a negative 9. Those are your two solutions, which you can write in your squiggly brackets if you want to. Whenever they're all whole numbers, which some of them will be, some of them won't be on the quiz, you have to make sure, if they're whole numbers, you separate them and give the two answers. If they're not whole numbers and there's radicals or i's in there, then you cannot combine them. So number 10, x squared plus 10x minus 7 equals 0.
Plus the 7 plus 2.
No, you do want to do that. My coefficient in front of my x squared is a 1, so I don't have to divide by anything. So the next step I want to do is move my constant over. Because I want my x's on one side, so x squared plus 10x plus something equals a positive 7 if I moved it to the other side, plus something. So, what do I do?
X plus 5 squared.
Write my squared term. So x plus 5, because whatever my sign is going to be the same. Or 10 is going to be the same. Or half of 10 is the 5. 5 squared is what I'm adding to both sides, so 25. So what's 7 plus 25?
32.
So in order to get rid of the square, you have to do what? Square root both sides. Because we're not going to put the square, so we have to simplify it. So square rooting and square, that cancels, so I get x plus 5 equals plus or minus. So 32 does not take the square root evenly. You don't get a whole number when you take the square root of 32. So what perfect squares go into 32? 4 times 8, but that's not the next one. Yeah. If I look at 4 and 8, 4 is a perfect square. 8 is not a perfect square, but 4 goes into 8. So that's why you know 4 and 8 can't work. Because another perfect square goes into the other number. If I had 16 times 2, 16 is a perfect square. 2 is not, and no perfect squares go into 2. So that's why you know 16 and 2 is a pair. The square root of 16 times the square root of 2. So what's the square root of 16?
1.
So that would be outside the radical because you can simplify it. Can you take the square root of 2 evenly?
No.
No. So that stays underneath the square root. And now I want to get my x by itself. So what do I have to do?
Minus 5.
Minus 5 on both sides. So x is going to equal negative 5 plus or minus 4 square root of 2 because this is a radical, this is a full number, you cannot combine them, so you are done. That is your ugly answer. And you can write it in the squiggly brackets as 1, or you could separate it, it could be negative 5 plus or minus 4 square root of 2. Or you could write it as negative 5 plus 4 square root of 2 and negative 5 minus 4 square root of 2. But I don't care if you do the squiggly brackets at all, you don't have to. Which is your solution class, the proper name of it. So you're doing 11 and 12. And you do have time to do it now if you wanted to. We can talk about it tomorrow when you study, or you can start taking the quiz. Whatever your heart desires.